Hello students, Assalamu alaikum. So we are meeting after your half-yearly examination. I hope that you have done your half-yearly examination with much curiosity and you have done good. So again we will restart our online classes. First, today we are going to see about biogeology, neural control and coordination. So my dear students, neural control and coordination is all about nerves, how they function, brain and what are their parts. So did you ever wonder how our body functions? Yes. The body maintains a stable condition even when the outside environment changes. Our eyes help to see things around us and our ears help us to hear various sounds. Our heart beats continuously and rhythmically. Air goes in and out of lungs. Eyes shed tears when our limbs get hurt. Each cell of a body works in a coordinated manner. Do you know how it coordinated and controlled? So these are the in this lesson we are going to learn some objectives. First one is to understand the structure of neuron and the neural system of the human beings. Next one is to learn to differentiate the functions of sensory and motor neuron. Next one is to understand the conduction of nerve impulses and learn the importance of myelin sheath and saltatory conduction. Next one is to learn the role of synapse and neuromuscular junction. Next one is to learn the structure and functions of the central neural system. Then we will learn about the structure, sensory reception, processing in photo, phono, olfactory, gustatory and skin receptors. So these are the objectives we are going to cover in this lesson. Okay. So I hope that in your smaller classes you would have studied about the structure of the neuron, about the axon and dendron. So in this class we will see beyond that. And also you would have learned about the parts of the brain, spinal cord and how the nerve cells are spread throughout our body. Do you remember how exactly that's a nerve cell looks like? The nerve cells is nothing but the neurons. The neural system of our body coordinates all the other systems to work together effectively and smoothly. Every second, diverse functions in our body are performed by the neural system. Day and night, millions of messages pass as stimuli through the cells of the neural system to stimulate the heart to beat, kidney to excrete waste and mouth to release the delicious food. An even more remarkable feature of the neural system is its ability to respond simultaneously to several stimuli. For instance, we can play a piano and sing, listen to music and do household chores, In all such coordinated movements, whether skilled performance or routine tasks like cycling or diving, the integrated power of the neural system is involved. So the neural system comprises of highly specialized cells called neurons. First we will learn what is stimuli. The changes in the environment to which living organisms respond are called stimuli. Example: heat, cold, sound, smell, taste, touch, pressure, gravity, water, etc. Living organisms respond to stimuli in the form of body movements. Coordination. For proper response to a stimulus, many organs in the body should work together. The working together of various organs in an organism to produce a proper response to a stimulus is called as the coordination. In animals, control and coordination is done by the nervous system and endocrine system. In plants, control and coordination is done by chemical agents. First, in coordination in animals. In animals, control and coordination is done by the nervous system and endocrine system. The nervous system consists of the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. Receptors are the sense organs which receive the stimuli and pass the message to the brain or spinal cord through the sensory nerves. Example: photoreceptors in the eyes to detect the light, phonoreceptors in the ears to detect sound, olfactory receptors in the nose to detect smell, gustatory receptors in the tongue to detect taste, hangoreceptors in the skin to detect the touch. So these are the receptors that are found throughout our body, and they send the information to the brain to the sensory nerves. So the sensory nerves which carry information from the receptors to the brain and the spinal cord. Next we will see about the nerve cell. So in the picture you can see the structure of the nerve cell. So the neuron is the structural and functional unit of the nervous system. It has a cell body called cyton containing nucleus and cytoplasm. It has several branched structures called dendrites. It has a long nerve fiber called axon, which is covered by a protective covering called myelin sheath. The junction between two neurons is called as the synapse. Messages pass through the nerve cell in the form of chemical and electrical signals called nerve impulse. The dendrites receive the information and starts a chemical reaction which produce electrical impulse which pass through the axon. So this is how the nerve cell work. So this neuron is a microscopic structure, and there are three types of nerve fibers. First one is the afferent, which transmit impulses from the tissues to central nervous system. Efferent neuron, which transmits impulses from the central nervous system to concerned peripheral tissue or organs. And the function is of two types, sensory and motor. And that nerve cells can be differentiated into myelinated and unmyelinated nerve fibers, and based on the structure they are differentiated into unipolar, bipolar and multipolar neurons. So the nerve cells form a branch. So each branch at the distal end of the axon terminates into a bulb-like structure called synaptic knob, which possesses synaptic vesicles filled with the neurotransmitters. The axon transmits nerve impulses away from the cell body to a interneural space or neuromuscular junction. The neurons are divided into three types based on the number of axons and dendrites they possess. First one is the multipolar neurons. They have many processes with one axon and two or more dendrites, and they are mostly interneurons. Bipolar neurons have two processes with one axon and one dendrite. These are found in the retina of the eye, inner ear, and olfactory area of the brain. Third one is the unipolar neurons. They have a single short process and one axon. Unipolar neurons are located in the ganglia of cranial and spinal nerves. Next we will see about the innervation and conduction of nerve impulses. So the sensation felt in the sensory organs are carried by the nerve fibers in the form of electrical impulses. A nerve impulse is a series of electrical impulses which travel along the nerve fiber. Inner to the axonema, the cytoplasm contains a intracellular fluid with large amounts of potassium and magnesium phosphate, along with negatively charged proteins and other organic molecules. The extracellular fluid found outside the axonema contains large amounts of sodium chloride, bicarbonates, nutrients and oxygen for the cell and carbon dioxide and metabolic waste released by the neuronal cells. The extracellular fluid and the intracellular fluid contains negatively charged particles called anions and positively charged particles called as cations. These charged particles are involved in the conduction of the impulses. The neuron maintain an uneven distribution of various inorganic ions across their axonema for transmission of impulses. So, the nerve transmission. Okay. The transmission of impulse involves two main phases called as resting membrane potential and action membrane potential. First, resting membrane potential. The electrical potential difference across the plasma membrane of resting neuron is called resting potential, during which the interior of the cell is negative due to greater efflux of potassium ions outside the cell than sodium influx into the cell. When the axon is not conducting any impulses, that is in resting condition, the axon membrane is more permeable to potassium and less permeable to sodium ions, whereas it remains impermeable to negatively charged protein ions. The axoplasm contains high concentration of potassium and negatively charged proteins of low concentration of sodium ions. In contrast, the fluid outside the axon contains low concentration of potassium and high concentration of sodium, and this forms a concentration gradient. The ionic gradient across the resting membrane is maintained by ATP driven sodium potassium pump, which exchanges 3 sodium outwards for 2 potassium into the cell. In this state, the cell membrane is said to be polarized. In neuron, the resting membrane potential ranges from minus 40 millivolt to minus 90 millivolt, and its normal value is minus 70 millivolt. The minus sign indicates that inside of the cell is negative with respect to the outside. Next one is the action membrane potential. An action potential occurs when a neuron sends information down an axon away from the cell body. It includes following phases: depolarization, repolarization, and hyperpolarization. So through this, the nerve impulses are conducted. The conduction speed of a nerve impulse depends on the diameter of the axon. The greater the axon's diameter, the faster is the conduction. The myelinated axon conducts the impulse faster than the non-myelinated axon. The voltage-gated sodium and potassium channels are concentrated on the nodes of Ranvier. As a result, the impulse jumps node to node rather than traveling the entire length of the nerve fiber. The mechanism of conduction is called saltatory conduction. Nerve impulse travel at the speed of 1 to 300 meter per second. So this is how the nerve function. Next we will see about the synaptic transmission. The junction between the two neurons is called a synapse, through which a nerve impulse is transmitted. The first neuron involved in the synapse forms the presynaptic neuron, and the second neuron in the postsynaptic neuron. A small gap between the pre and postsynaptic membrane is called as the synaptic cleft, that forms a structural gap and a functional bridge between neurons. The axon terminals contain synaptic vesicles filled with neurotransmitters. When an impulse arrives at the axon terminals, it depolarizes the presynaptic membrane, opening the voltage-gated calcium channels. The influx of calcium and ions stimulates the synaptic vesicles towards the presynaptic membrane and fuses with it. In the neurulum, the vesicles release their neurotransmitters into the synaptic cleft by exocytosis. The released transmitters bind to the specific receptors on their postsynaptic membrane, responding to chemical signals. The entry of the ions can generate a new potential in the postsynaptic membrane, which may be either excitatory or inhibitory. Excitatory postsynaptic potential causes depolarization, whereas inhibitory postsynaptic potential causes hyperpolarization of postsynaptic membrane. So what happens when it is hyperpolarized? If repolarization becomes more negative than the resting potential, minus 70 millivolt to about minus 90 millivolt, it is called as hyperpolarization. During this, potassium ion gates are moved permeable to potassium even after reaching the threshold level as it closes slowly, hence the lazy gates. The membrane potential returns to its original resting state when potassium ion channels close completely during hyperpolarization and the sodium voltage gate remains closed. So the synapse is a nerve impulse is transmitted from one neuron to another through the junctions called synapse. There are two types of synapses, electrical and chemical synapses. Transmission of synapse in myelinated nerve fiber is called saltatory conduction. It is faster than in non-myelinated nerve fiber. Okay. Do you know glial cells do not lose the ability to undergo cell division? So most brain tumors of neural origin consist of glial cells. Neurons themselves do not form tumors because they are unable to divide and multiply. The longest cell in the human body are the neurons. The longest axons in the human body, for example, are those of the sciatic nerve, which run from the base of the spine to the big toe of each foot. These single cell fibers may extend a meter or even longer. The axons of the interneurons in the central nervous system are the shortest. So in the diagram you can see about the synaptic transmission. Okay. So this is how the nerve impulses are transmitted from one nerve fiber to the another nerve fiber. So it is a complex function. So it is based on the ionic potential through which the nerve impulses are transmitted. So these are called as the neurotransmitters. So it happens between the one nerve cell and the another nerve cell, that is the dendrite of the one cell through the action of the another cell. So the ionic channels helps in the transmission of the neural impulse. Next we will see about the central neural system. The central neural system includes the brain and the spinal cord, which are protected by the bones of the skull and the vertebral column. During its embryonic development, central neural system develops from the ectoderm. First we will see about the brain. The brain acts as the command and control system. It is the site of information processing. It is located in the cranial cavity and is covered by precranial meninges. The outer thicker layer is called durameter, which lines the inner surface of the cranial cavity. The median thin layer is organoid matter, which is separated from the durameter by a narrow subdural space. The innermost layer is pyometer, which is closely adhered to the brain but separated from the organoid matter by the suborganoid space. The brain is divided into three main regions: forebrain, midbrain, and the hindbrain. The brain is divided into three major regions called as the forebrain, midbrain, and the hindbrain. The forebrain, it comprises of the following regions: cerebrum and diencephalon. Cerebrum is the seat of intelligence and forms the major part of the brain. The cerebrum consists of outer cortex, inner medulla, and basal nuclei. The superficial region of the cerebrum is called cerebral cortex, which looks grey due to the presence of unmyelinated nerve cells. Cerebral cortex consists of neuronal cell body, dendrites, associated glial and blood vessels. The surface of the cerebrum shows many convolutions and grooves, and the folds are called gyri, and the shallow grooves between the gyri are called as sulci, and deep grooves are called as fissures. These sulci and gyri increase the surface area of the cerebral cortex. Several sulci divided the cerebrum into 8 lobes, a pair of frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital lobes. Next one is the diencephalon. Diencephalon consists largely of three paired structures called as epithalamus, thalamus, and the hypothalamus. So in the forebrain, the frontal region or the frontal structure of the brain is responsible for behavior, intelligence, memory and movement, whereas the parietal is responsible for language, reading and sensation. Temporal is responsible for speech, hearing, memory, and the occipital lobe is responsible for visual processing. Next one we will see about the brainstem. Brainstem is the part of the brain between the spinal cord and the diencephalon. It consists of midbrain, pons varolii and medulla oblongata. So this is the structure of the brain. The midbrain is located between the diencephalon and the pons. The lower portion of the midbrain consists of a pair of longitudinal bands of